Good time of the day, dear friends. I am Lyudmila Vorobieva, Ambassador of the Russian Federation to Jakarta. First of all, I would like to say thank you for the interest that you have towards our country and for addressing very interesting questions to me that I'm ready to answer today. So the first question is, of course, about the coronavirus infection. How does Russia handle coronavirus pandemic? Does the cold weather help? And this is a question from Herman Mukten. Currently, the coronavirus pandemic hasn't spared Russia like basically all the countries in the world. As for today, we have around 30,000 cases. We are quite lucky, or you may say that our healthcare system is quite strong. We don't have many victims, only around 200, and actually really that highlights the strength of our healthcare system and the very strict measures that were taken by our government. Many of our regions and big cities are on lockdown and on very strict quarantine measures, including Moscow. The movement of people are restricted. People can go out just to go for work or to buy some essentials, food and groceries in the nearby shops, or to walk their pets or dogs. And that's it. All the schools are closed, all the universities are closed, and they have been transferred to online studies. We hope that the peak of the reached sometime soon, and hopefully the situation will get better. Unfortunately, the cold weather doesn't help, because according to many studies, the coronavirus is more vulnerable in hot weather, like in Indonesia. But in Russia, the weather is still quite cool, so really that doesn't help to fight the coronavirus, like viruses as well. We have seasonal flus during winter time in Russia, and so the coronavirus is no exception. But we all hope for the better, and that implementing all the strict measures, we will be able to win over this epidemic. And I would also like to say a great word of thanks to our healthcare workers who are on the front line fighting with this disease. The second question that I would like to answer today has been posed by Vladimir Alexandrov Surya, a very nice Russian name. It's about the Russian-Indonesian bilateral ties and their development right now, and what are the spheres of cooperation. Of course, the Russian-Indonesian bilateral ties, in terms of practical things, have been affected by the coronavirus pandemic. We don't have opportunities to have meetings or conferences or events that we have been planning, especially for this year, because this year we're celebrating the 70th anniversary of our diplomatic relations. But still we're conducting quite active political dialogue. Maybe you have heard or you've seen in the media that this Monday our two leaders had a telephone conversation how to fight the coronavirus together. We can do a lot. Our two countries, our two people, and our bilateral ties have been developing in a very positive ways. And directions, the areas that we have been exploring is energy, the civil aviation, transportation, infrastructure. Our trade has been on a considerable level, about $2 billion per year. We have joint investment projects, we have humanitarian exchanges. Indonesian students are studying in Russia right now, and hopefully there will be more, but unfortunately, as I mentioned, the coronavirus pandemic has put many things on hold, but we hope for the best and for the bright future of our bilateral relations. The third question is posed by Jekta Hutapira. How does Russia see Indonesia? Well, it's a very interesting question. There are different aspects of that. If you look at the political aspect, how does the Russian Federation see the Republic of Indonesia? I would answer this question as we see Indonesia as a great country, as one of the leaders of ASEAN, as our key partner in not only in Southeast Asia but in the Asia-Pacific region as a whole. And our firm intention is to develop further the relations of cooperation and friendship with Indonesia. If you look at the aspect from people point of view or humanitarian point of view, in Russia people know a lot about Indonesia. The generation remember the very close relations that we enjoyed with Indonesia during the times of President Sukarno, who visited our country 4 times, and many people in Russia, older people, they still know Indonesian, remember famous Indonesian songs that have been translated into Russian. For instance, Rayan Pulau Kelapa has been translated into Russian, and many people can sing it in Russian in our country. Of course, younger generation, they know more about Bali, because Bali is a very famous tourist spot for Russians. Last year we had more than 160 tourists in Bali, and 2 years ago we opened a direct flight between Moscow and Denpasar. So people know a lot about Bali. But people are aware that Indonesia is a very beautiful country with people who are very friendly, and the nature that is absolutely fantastic. I would like to see more Russian tourists in Indonesia visiting not only Bali but other beautiful places in your country. Hopefully when the coronavirus epidemic will finish, now we're all staying at home, then we will have even more Russians coming to Indonesia, and of course Indonesians visiting Russia. The fourth question by Oki Trianda Indrajaya. Why does Russian President Vladimir Putin say that Russians and Ukrainians are the same? Also a very interesting question, but if you look at the history of our relations with Ukraine, you would probably know that for centuries Russians and Ukrainians have been in the same country. And indeed, I really agree with our president that we are actually the same in terms of mentality, ethnicity, traditions, even religion, and our languages are very close. We can understand each other. Myself, I was born in Kiev, which is the capital of Ukraine. I'm not Ukrainian, I'm Russian, but that just highlights how close we are. Every person, every family in Russia has relatives or friends in Ukraine, and vice versa. Unfortunately, what you can see is happening now in our relations with Ukraine, which are not, to put it mildly, in their best shape. Of course, it's a purely political thing that was very much influenced by external, I would say, external powers. And it's not normal. It's an absurd situation when two nations that are practically the same, that are brothers and sisters, are in this state of practically having no relations and not communicating. I'm sure that this state of affairs will end sooner and later, and the friendship and good relations that the good feelings that we have towards Ukrainian will prevail. And the last but not the least question is from Bim Kirudin Blem. Is there any social insurances or medical in Russia for its citizens? Of course, we do have compulsory medical insurance for all the citizens in the Russian Federation. And this insurance allow any Russian national, any Russian citizen to have access to public hospitals that give a large array of medical services. Of course, if you wish so, you can have an additional medical insurance on a commercial basis, and then you can get extra medical services maybe there that are more sophisticated or more costly. Yeah, but basically all Russian citizens have access to medical services that are free of charge. For social insurance, we also have a very well developed system, especially for senior citizens who have pensions from the state and have different privileges. For instance, many local authorities offer free transportation for senior citizens. The payment for the usage of utilities like electricity and water is very much reduced for senior citizens, and also for families who have many children. So this is a welfare system that is quite developed in our country, but we seek for more and a larger extension of this system. Is our aim for our state to be a social welfare state. Well, that was the last question for today. Thank you very much for your attention, and please send us more interesting questions that I will try to answer.